So the other day we talked about RFK Jr.'s Super Bowl ad. It created quite a controversy because his own family members went after him for that, saying like basically, hey, our relatives don't agree with you. Stop pretending like they do and stop, jacking JFK's old ad. Basically, they were like, this is unacceptable. You shouldn't have done it. So RFK comes out and apologizes for using that ad. But he says, hey, man, it wasn't me. It's the super PAC. I have nothing to do with the super PAC. There's no coordination. Coordination would be illegal. So they did it free of their own volition. And oh, yeah, by the way, and I'm going to retweet it and also pin it to my Twitter profile so that you see how disturbed and distraught I am by this. It's all very Weasley all around, right? Now, by the way, is the ad going to matter? Well, certainly interest in him spiked where people were Googling his name. There's no doubt about that. But is that going to translate to votes? That's a much more difficult question because as of right now, he's only on one ballot. To be fair, that was as of like 2 weeks ago or so, but it's very, very difficult to get on the ballot as an independent. In fact, in like 6 or 7 different states, he's going to have to create his own party to get on the ballot because it's easier to get on that way than as an actual independent. They've effectively like rigged it against independents, okay? Now, by the way, I don't think RFK knew this before he made the switch. I genuinely don't think he knew it. He initially ran as a Democrat. He said, hey, man, they're putting all these roadblocks up. They clearly don't want other candidates. They're trying to hand this thing over to Biden. They think he's entitled to it. I'm against that. I want to be given a fair shot. And so he announced, all right, I'm done. I'm not running as a Democrat. I'm going to run as an independent. Now, look, his reasoning for breaking with the Democrats, I understand that. It makes perfect sense, right? It is true they were putting up roadblocks. It is true they're trying to hand it over to Biden. It is true they systematically tried to remove Marianne Williamson, Dean Phillips, Cenk Uygur, anybody and everybody who wants to challenge Biden. That's all accurate. But what he didn't understand, perhaps, is that as rigged as it is from within the Democratic Party, you're about to see running as an independent. It's like 4 times more rigged. Why? Because in the 1990s, Ross Perot, who's a billionaire, ran for president, got about 19% of the popular vote, and didn't get a single electoral college vote. They had allowed him into all the debates. So you had like Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, and Ross Perot. And what ended up happening? He, in that instance, ended up helping Bill Clinton win because he nominally took more votes from the Republican side, from the H.W. Bush supporters. So ever since then, the Democrat and Republican parties came together and said, we can't allow an independent to squeak in like this, so let's just rig it more openly against independents. And they did exactly that. Well, guess what? They tried to put up the roadblocks when he was a Democrat. He immediately jumped ship and said, I'm going to run as an independent where he thinks it's more free. It wasn't. And now we get this. DNC accuses RFK Jr. campaign and Super PAC of colluding on ballot access effort. Okay. So this is the Democrats saying, you're violating election law. Because we determine you're violating election law, we're going to sue to try to get you kicked off the ballot, even as an independent. That's effectively what's going on here. All right, now let's dive into it. The Democratic National Committee announced Friday that it is filing a Federal Election Commission complaint against Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s independent presidential campaign and the Super PAC supporting him on allegations the two are colluding to get Kennedy ballot access. On December 5th, Super PAC American Values 2024 announced it would invest $10 million to $15 million in ballot access with the aim of getting Kennedy on the ballot in at least 10 states. In at least 10 states. So look, that doesn't sound like a serious run to me then. If you're not trying to get all 50 or succeeding in getting all 50, I don't know what we're doing here. It's just a vanity project, right? So that's wild. To be fair to them, maybe what they're saying is we aim to get them on the ballot in at least 10 states, but like the campaign itself has to pick up the slack and pay for it for, the 40 other states or something like that. I don't know. I'm doing my best to steelman it here. In the FEC complaint, the DNC claims that in the states in which American Values 2024 has announced a ballot access initiative, each requires the candidate to submit a draft signature petition for state approval, turn in the completed forms, identify the individuals who collected the signatures, and obtain certification for circulators. The DNC complaint alleges that the Super PAC is coordinating its activity with Mr. Kennedy and his campaign in a way that violates federal campaign finance laws. Our complaint asks the FEC to begin an investigation and remedy the violations that they find. DNC legal counsel Robert Leonard said in a press briefing Friday, in previous conversations with CBS News, both the Super PAC and the Kennedy campaign have said they have legal experts guiding them through the process, and both are pursuing ballot access separately. Rather than doing the hard work itself, using money raised in compliance with the candidate contribution limits, the campaign is taking shortcuts, Leonard said. So in other words, the argument being made here from the DNC is, if the Super PAC is helping you get on ballots, understand that the Super PAC is funded by all these shadowy billionaires, including, by the way, former Trump billionaire donors. And if they're helping you do that, then that's illegal because there are campaign limits. If you give money to the actual campaign, the limits don't really apply to super PACs. So now you have this billionaire who has like outsized, credibility with you and support from you because they're basically funding the whole effort to try to get your ass on the ballots. That's the point that they're making. In a statement sent to CBS News, Kennedy's campaign manager and daughter-in-law, Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, said, "This is a non-issue being raised by a partisan political entity that seems to be increasingly concerned with its own candidate and viability." DNC senior advisor Liz Smith, who was also on Friday's press call, said the DNC believes Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign and the primary super PAC backing his campaign are illegally coordinating in violation of federal election law. Quote, "What we are witnessing is the outsized illegal influence of individual mega donors like billionaire Tim Mellon, Donald Trump's largest donor this cycle, who gave American Values the exact $15 million paycheck they said they would need for the ballot access," Smith said. During the call, reporters asked if Democratic Party is concerned that Kennedy might peel off votes in swing states as President Biden age. That's definitely a typo. As President Biden's age potentially becomes a bigger campaign issue. DNC senior advisor Ramsey Reed replied that the party is concerned that Donald Trump and his mega donors are propping up RFK Jr. Okay, so look, let's get down to the truth here. Let's get down to why they're doing this. The DNC is doing this not we care so deeply about the purity and sanctity of the process and you're violating the rules. They're portraying it like that's their thing. Hey man, we're just objective arbiters here, and we see these rules are being broken, so you got to enforce those rules. You got to penalize this guy. You got to kick him off the ballot. That's how they're portraying it. The reality is what? It's the DNC that put pressure on 4 different states to totally cancel any Democratic primary at all. Florida's one, and there were 3 others that were like, we're just canceling the Democratic primary. So you have Marianne Williamson and Dean Phillips and Cenk Uygur. They tried to go sign up in Florida, and they go, oh, you can't sign up. The deadline already passed. And they're like, well, hold on. The deadline's not till like next week. And they go, oh, yeah, but we changed the date. That was the last sign-up date to a month earlier and didn't tell anybody. So you're just not on the ballot, and we're canceling the election. So now does that sound like the DNC is very concerned about the sanctity and the purity of the process and that all the rules be followed closely? Who are we kidding? Now, understand something, guys. I don't like RFK Jr. In fact, I despise RFK Jr. I've gone after him pretty aggressively on this channel, and I will continue to do that because he says a lot of fucking really stupid things. But that's irrelevant. The reason the DNC is doing this is because they want to kick his ass off every single ballot, and this is the excuse that they've come up with in order to do that. That's the bottom line. Now, by the way, is it true that there's like probably coordination between RFK and his super PAC? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what? Everybody else is doing the same goddamn thing. Now, I'm okay with enforcing the laws and the rules and the regulations, but you got to do it evenly, and you got to do it equally, and you got to do it fairly. And of course, we all know when it comes to somebody like Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, it's up. We're not doing anything wrong at all. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no coordination over here, bro. I don't even know what you mean. Spare me. Please spare me. Okay? I don't support RFK. I think his candidacy is a bit of a joke, if I'm being honest with you. But the heart of the issue here is the DNC just wants to kick him off the ballot. They just want to kick him off the ballot. It is clearly the conclusion of the Biden administration that him being on actually hurts him more than it helps him. If RFK's presence on the ballot helped him more, and they were convinced of that, they wouldn't say anything. They would support all this. In fact, here, I'll show you what I mean. When you do Trump versus Biden versus Kennedy, Trump is up 5 points on average, okay? When you just do head-to-head, Trump is up 1.9 points. So they've looked at these numbers, and they've concluded, all right, you know what? Sorry, but we can't have this because it hurts us more. And they're just cloaking it in this legal language of we care about the rules and the process, and he's illegally coordinating. It's just not their actual concern. They don't care about that because they violated 70,000 processes to get to where we are right now, where all the other candidates were shunned and effectively kicked out, and there wasn't any sort of real democracy that unfolded. I mean, I need you to stop and reflect on that. The party that sucks itself off as being the saviors of democracy literally canceled 4 Democratic primaries. They canceled them. They canceled them. Now, by the way, even if they just allowed the primary election and had a fair process, Biden still probably would have won. But they didn't do that, which shows they don't care about democracy. It's just an argument they make to their ends, right? They'll be total hypocrites when it suits them. But anyway, that's the bottom line. That's why they're doing this to RFK Jr. As much as I hate the guy, the process to actually get on the ballot as an independent or as a member of any party should not be this difficult. They purposefully make it really convoluted and weird so that it's like impossible to get on unless you have tens of millions of dollars and an entire team and legal experts, and like they make it impossible. And we all know the whole purpose of that was because the Democrats and the Republicans wanted to rig it further to say we are the only 2 options. We need to unrig that system. And we need to unrig that system. We also need to have ranked choice voting so the whole spoiler effect is not even a thing anymore. These are the answers. But instead of getting closer to that, we have these bullshit arguments coming from the DNC where they pretend to care about the order and the process and the rules being broken. You don't care about that. And I'm sure I could find 15 different Biden campaign violations with 1 day of research that you guys actively support and are facilitating. But since it's somebody else who you think is going to hurt you in the election, all of a sudden you're throwing the book at them. So I think it's bullshit. Even though, for the record, I think it's true that he is coordinating with the super PAC. Just like that ad. Just like the Super Bowl ad. You think he didn't know about it? Of course he fucking knew about it. Of course they're coordinating. But the fact of the matter is they all do it, and they're selectively enforcing it just against him because they want to get him out of the way. They want to clear the field like they already did against Marianne Williamson and Cenk Uygur and Dean Phillips. So anyway, as much as I despise the guy, should he be on the ballot? Yeah. He wants to run as an independent. He should be on the ballot. And, you know, if Biden is concerned about how that would impact the election, maybe do some shit to change your level of support. Like stop supporting genocide in Gaza. Stop arming and funding Netanyahu as he carpet bombs babies on a daily basis. You know, we can go on and on. Erase medical debt. As the Democratic governor of Connecticut just said, we're going to do that. We're going to erase everybody's medical debt in this state. You can do something like that, Joe Biden, and then that would help you in the polls. So, you know, there are ways out of this that aren't just, let's cheat. But that's what they've settled on. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.